This is Tim Heaney from USA Today Sports and KFFL.com, and I'm watching the Fantasy Sports Network.
This is Dr. Roto. We're here at the FSTA conference in Las Vegas. I'm here with Tim Heaney from KFFL. Tim, you joined the conference this week?
Hey, Doc. Yeah, it's pretty good to gather the industry people together. It's always nice to update where everybody is in the industry and kind of see where the trends are going, see what the industry's leaning towards and the future of things. So yeah, it's very exciting to see familiar faces like yourself and old faces.
So how has the industry changed over the years from the time you started till now? What have you seen differently?
Well, it's definitely an evolution of what fantasy players want to focus on. Obviously with the websites that have just been expanding in information and resources, there's this boom of what the average fantasy player knows. They actually are, they're actually capable of, challenging the experts more so, and I think that's been a good thing for the interaction between experts, websites, and their fan bases, and it's kind of led to everyone having a drive to be better than they have been in the past, and dive into new methods of research and dive into new statistics and new strategy that's can push them over the top and kind of gain an edge. So it's always nice to get the update on these things.
What do you think helps KFFL stand out? Because you guys are on a great site. You have a football side, the baseball side. What makes KFFL special?
Well, KFFL has always been bred on news and getting that out first. We were one of the first websites actually on the internet about fantasy football and driving towards getting the inside scoops from breaking news sources and all that, and getting the details of what is actually going on with teams and how it impacts the fantasy landscape. That's what we've always been relied upon for. It's what we've always been good at, and that's our focus. And that still drives fantasy to this day, knowing about the actual game itself and knowing about how real life developments with the teams impact your fantasy game.
Now, speaking of the fantasy landscape, what do you think about the 24/7 Fantasy Sports Network? What do you think it can bring to the industry?
Well, I think it's very long overdue that we have a devoted network to this. It's definitely going to be a thing where it increases the cooperation of the industry and kind of reminds us all that fantasy sports is good for sports in general, because it increases the average fan's knowledge, every fan's knowledge of actually what they're watching, which is always what you want when you're watching a sport, when you're promoting a sport. It's always good to know more about what you love, and I think that's what this network's really good at, going to be beneficial for.
Do you think fantasy owners are smarter now than they've ever been before with all the information out there?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many more outlets to get information on players and statistics, and like I said, news. It's always good to have multiple sources for these things. You always want to be a step ahead of your competition, and the way that all these various sites out there are promoting all this stuff, it definitely gives you a little bit more of an edge.
So as we move forward in the industry, where do you see the industry heading over the next few years?
Inundation of information is always good to allow us to expand what we want to look for, and I think having a channel devoted to all that is definitely a good step in the right direction to kind of fill your brain with the things that you want to do in your spare time. Not have spare time, just have a lot of it devoted to fantasy. So KFFL, any of the other big companies, it's a good thing to be involved with that.
Well, I think you do a great job. Now, what's your favorite sport? Are you a baseball guy? You're a football guy? If you had to just cover one, what would you cover?
Oh, well, I'm a baseball guy, but football's obviously dear to my heart as well.
Yeah. So what's your baseball team?
My baseball team's the New York Yankees.
The New York Yankees. So now with the Yankees, Jeter's getting older, Mariano Rivera not there anymore. Where do you think the Yankees go in the future? Do they have more money to spend? What do you think the Yankees do?
I think a lot of the talk about the trying to stay under the luxury tax threshold is it's a little bit overrated, because I think a lot of studies have actually shown that the Yankees need to make the playoffs to make money based on what the revenue scale they have for their team. So they're going to spend, they're going to try to win. I think that's just the way they're going to work it, regardless of what they say.
Now, do you try to avoid Yankees on your fantasy team, or do you want Yankees on your fantasy team?
I think I play the middle ground fairly, I think, with that. I look for the best value among Yankees. I'm not one to distinguish, my team, a player from my hometown team is being better than anybody else just by blind faith. I think you always have to keep a fair value system in place for stuff like that. I'll even draft Red Sox if they're better value. So you can't let your allegiances get in the way of fantasy success.
How do you think the fantasy industry, with information, people are getting information everywhere, whether it's apps or online or a TV network, how will that continue? Do you think people will need the newspapers anymore? Do you think those will be outdated? What do you think will happen over the next few years?
I don't think newspapers are outdated or becoming unnecessary. I think that you definitely have a lot of great insight. Despite debate about our Hall of Fame voting process in baseball, I still think there are a lot of great baseball minds that, are in newspaper media. I think there's a reason that that the real gems are still there. They still have jobs and all that stuff. They know what they're doing with with inside access and all that. So I think I wouldn't necessarily eliminate a source. You have to kind of keep it in perspective how you treat all the alternate media sources with internet and TV and obviously streaming stuff. You have to just keep a piece of that as, like I said, just of the whole picture. Newspaper has to be involved somehow still.
Never mentions the word addiction.